Alright, so first I'll intro myself before we say the hellos. I'm Nila, and I'm going to be continuing what my friends have been doing, talking about their writing journeys and things that are writing. So, hey Max and Dib, I'm going to hopefully do justice to the things you've been doing. Hi people, since this is my first attempt at doing this, you guys are unfortunately gonna get treated to very long video of a close-up of my face. Excuse me if I'm looking a bit strange because I just got here from home, but right now we're here to talk about writing. That's what this is for. And so I'm gonna start off with the topic that I'll probably be talking about today, in except for the unfocused ramblings, of course. And that topic for today will be characterization of characters. So, before I start on what I'm supposed to speak, actually, there's nothing I'm supposed to speak. I thought I'd prepare a script, but I didn't find the time to, so this is an extemporized video actually. Before I start on what I have a mental outline of speaking, I'll start off with a question that Dibs asked, which was that which structure or trope do you want to use the most in your work? And if you have used those tropes in your work or not. So basically, I think that consciously or unconsciously, people as writers use a lot of tropes. And I'm not even sure if we notice we're using those tropes half of the time. But then again, there might be some really astute people who might notice everything. So, sorry in advance. So a good way to go about realizing the answer of this question is to evaluate your writing process. What is the story you like to write, and what is a story you generally shy away from? And your characterization also stems from the kind of story you've got to write. So, a lot of people use character profiles for characterization. That's actually a good way to go about it, but I don't think it's a complete way of properly doing characterization because it's the bare bones, but a character is not made from the bare bones. So, yeah. So, the question Ribs asked about the tropes that I like to use is actually in-depth character exploration. I'm not even sure if that's a legitimate trope, and it varies story to story. The structure I like to use, because I like to explore characters the most I can in a very intimate and personal way, is that I use the first person perspective, because as a writer, I'm not sure how it feels as a reader or the person who reads my work. I'm not sure how it feels, whether they feel close to the character or not, but as a writer, I feel the closest to my character when I use the first person point of view. So that's the story structure I usually prefer. And as for tropes, I like writing about life journeys, so kind of like the hero's journey or the villain's journey, the journey of a character that I've created or borrowed from myths and legends, because a lot of my writing is focused on mythical and legendary stories, especially the Indian mythology. So, Indian Hindu mythology, that is. Yes, so one thing I like to do as a structure of my story is, pick up these legends that are scattered here and there and then go, okay, this is a legend. It's like a long story. Is there a way that part of this could have been true? If so, how could I write it in the point of the view of the character I'm writing? So yeah, so that's my answer to Dib's question. The trope I like is writing character journeys in particular the hero's journey or a person's journey from childhood to adulthood, how they change, how their outlook of life changes, how they evolve as a character. So that brings me back again to the topic of my own video. We seem to be beating about the bush a lot, and I'm sorry for that. And here I was wanting to talk about character explorations and perspectives. So as I said, a lot of people prefer character profiles, but character profiles are the bare bones, and we need to flesh out a character. One of the most excuse me, sorry. One of the most common mistakes we make as writers when we're writing characters is that we tend to, stereotype them, make them extremely perfect or extremely evil, also known as the Mary Sue or the Gary Stu effect. So when you're writing a character, you need to make sure, I think at least, I'm not sure if, that vibes with you or not. You need to make sure that you have thought of the character in a lot of ways, except for the bare likes and dislikes and physical appearances. You need to think in the shoes of the character you write. Their thought process. What do they think in a situation? Is self-preservation instinct high in that person? Or is he or she the kind of person who would, say, rescue others instead of themselves? Put your character into situations. I think that can help you write a character in a pretty decent way, actually. Put your character into situations, try to write as the character, and of course writing is not that easy because a lot of writers have vivid imagery in their heads which does not translate very well to paper. So that's why when you are imagining a scene in your head, or at least this is what I do as a part of my writing process, when I imagine scenes in my head, I try to transcribe the scene to words inside my head itself. It's not a foolproof process, but it works quite well for me. I hope it works for you too. And another thing with character perspectives is the perspective about a particular character varies on whose eyes we're looking at that character from. For example, if we take a young man, let's suppose we're taking a random young man who has a family, who has friends, who has enemies, all those, the usual slice of life thing. So if you talk about the same person, these different people, if you talk about him to his mom, her opinion of her son would be different from, say, the friend or the enemy. Because for his mother, he is her son. For the friend, he's a peer, he's an equal. For the enemy, he's someone he hates. So when you are trying to round out a character, maybe try to imagine that particular character from the perspective of other people. For example, someone who could be the perfect father in a child's head might not be the perfect father in his own head. So try to imagine the character in different perspectives, in different ways, in different situations, and try transcribing that, the moment you can, because ideas have a very odd timing of striking you, to be frank. So when you're writing characters, another thing you need to value is consistency in a way. Like, once you progress a certain stage of life, your basic moral psychology is actually a bit set. Sure, there can be huge things that can change your psychology in this case, but as far as in everyday life. You have a set of values that you follow as a person. So make sure that, in the absence of absolute catastrophic or extremely good changes, your character is consistent in the way he or she thinks, in the way he or she reacts. And that's where character profiles fail you, because you don't think about the psychology of the character, more like you just, go a bit over the leaf, kind of, about that character, like how he or she looks, what do they like, what do they dislike, the stereotypical introductions. So if I say, hi, my name is Nila, I'm 20 years old, I'm a med student, I like to read and to write, and I dislike love stories, say. So you won't know much about me. So that applies for the characters too. That's why this advice, I feel, is kind of applicable. So yeah, that answers Dip's question, as well as covers a large part of what I wanted to say in my own video, I guess. Really, excuse the errors and typos and a lot of stuttering, actually, please, because I've never done this before and I'm pretty excited about this. But hey, it's impromptu, it's improv, so it's kind of me exploring my own character as a writer. So yeah, I hope that vibes with you guys. And I also need to answer a question that Max asked, and that was about works in progress, WIPs. So I'm not sure if the people who are watching this are conversant with, Indian mythical history of a sort, but that's the story I'm writing. And I'm focusing on one of the world's largest epics called the Mahabharata, and again, as I said, I favor a first person perspective. So I'm writing the story in a first person perspective of one of the protagonist characters, because, well, I like the way he thinks. So again, I empathize with the way he thinks. You need to focus on a character you empathize with or understand. And yes, you will have to, craft villains, people you don't sympathize with or understand in any way. But again, try to imagine the villain in situations that can bring their positive sides too. For example, I might be writing a villain who's pretty greedy and evil and, well, the standard villain qualities, but we need to round him out as a character. So maybe we could talk about situations that made the villain who he is. Why is his thought process like that? Why does he hate the hero in the first place? Do they have some history between them? Or why is he greedy? Is there something lacking in his life? Something, a status? Like, find out rationales. Okay, that's a word I don't like much, but find out explanations of why a particular character thinks the way he, she, it, because it can be an animal for all I know, thinks. And yeah, for the WIP in question, I'm writing it in the point of view of the protagonists. One of the main protagonists of the epic Mahabharata, who's known as Arjuna, who's a hero of his own right. And I, in the story, am chronicling his journey from a child to a warrior of quite great renown. And, the story in itself has a lot of political undertones, civil wars. It's kind of a mix of history and mythical things. And I'm trying to, filter out the mythical stuff and write about what can be considered a bit, at least in the protag's own head, as what's going on in front of me right now. And one more thing to keep in mind when we're writing about characters, since we are talking about my story, which happens in a mytho-historical period, which is like a long, long time ago, is that, the characters set of morals and values that he needs to be thinking about or she needs to be thinking about probably echo the morals and values of his own age. Like, for example, 2000 years ago, the societal systems in a country would be very, very different from what it is now. So, or even, a child could have a self-centered mentality that changes as he or she grows. So that's called evolution of a character growth. And it might not need a catastrophe or catalysm. It could just be a gradual evolution of the whole character's principles, his ideals, her ideals, their ideals. Sorry if I'm offending someone who doesn't go with these pronouns. And the point is, when you are trying to write a character and round him, her, them, any other pronouns out, you need to, when you're writing about their morals and all, you need to show how they change. It can't just be like he was happy one day, but the other day we find out that he has depression, and the reader has no idea of why. So yes, springing surprises is a good thing as an author, but readers usually like to figure things out as they go. So even when you're writing a character, think of the story of the character and the ways that you will characterize the character as an author, a writer. So with that, I come to the end of this, as well as my question for you guys, anyone who wants to reply to this, is how do you characterize characters in your work? What age do you use? Where do you borrow things from? Do you use a character profile? Do you have any way of writing that you particularly like or favor? I guess put it in the comments, or well, I'll put my social media link in the video, so you'll get that too. So yeah, right, with that I come to the end of the video, and thanks for watching. I hope it was better and really, really bad at least. So yeah, with that, thanks and bye.